The atmosphere at Iowa Speedway was electric. Before the race even began, there was a feeling that something special could happen. Short track racing has a way of creating unpredictable moments, and with the field packed tightly together, nobody could afford to relax. As the cars rolled onto the grid, teams completed their final checks. Crew members inspected tires, adjusted suspension settings, checked temperatures, and made last-second changes to the cars. Inside the cockpits, drivers prepared themselves for hundreds of laps of pressure. This wasn't just another race. This was a test of patience, precision, aggression, and endurance. Iowa Speedway is the kind of track where drivers have to constantly manage their cars. The corners can punish a driver who enters too aggressively, while a driver who is too cautious can quickly lose valuable positions. When the green flag finally waved, the field exploded forward. The opening laps immediately delivered the kind of close racing fans had been waiting for. Drivers fought for position through the first corners, running side by side and searching for the best line. The leaders wanted clean air. The drivers behind wanted track position. And everyone wanted to avoid trouble. But in NASCAR, avoiding trouble is often easier said than done. As the laps clicked away, the field began to spread out slightly. The fastest cars started showing their strength, while others began struggling with tire wear and handling. A car that felt perfect during the first few laps could suddenly become difficult to drive. The rear could begin sliding, the front could lose grip, the tires could start fading. And once that happened, the driver had to adapt. This is one of the biggest challenges of racing at a short track. You can't simply drive the car the same way for the entire race. The track changes, the tires change, the balance of the car changes, and the competition never stops. The crew chiefs were watching all of this carefully. Every time their driver came across the start-finish line, the team received another piece of information. How does the car feel? Are the tires holding up? Is the balance getting better or worse? Those answers could determine the next pit stop strategy. Meanwhile, the battles behind the leaders were becoming increasingly aggressive. A driver would dive underneath another car going into the corner. The defending driver would hold the line. They would exit the corner side by side. Then they would do it again and again. That kind of racing puts enormous pressure on both drivers. One small mistake can end the battle immediately. Then came the first major moment of chaos. Two cars made contact while fighting for position. The initial contact looked minor, but the consequences were much bigger. One car was pushed toward the outside. The driver tried to regain control, but the car snapped loose. Suddenly, the field had to react. Cars scattered. Some drivers moved high. Others went low. Smoke appeared on the track, and the caution flag came out. The entire race changed. For some teams, the caution was a gift. For others, it was a disaster. Drivers who had been struggling suddenly had another opportunity. Drivers who had built a comfortable lead saw their advantage disappear. Crew chiefs immediately began calculating. Should they pit? Should they stay out? Should they take 4 tires? Could they risk 2? These decisions might sound small, but at a short track, they can determine the entire outcome. The pit crews prepared for action. When the pit lane opened, cars rushed in. Tires came off. Fresh tires went on. Fuel was added. Adjustments were made. And within seconds, the cars were back on track. Every pit stop was a race inside the race. One mistake could cost several positions. A loose wheel, a slow tire change, a missed adjustment. Anything could change the running order. When the field returned to green flag racing, the intensity immediately returned. The restart was aggressive. Drivers pushed 3 wide into the corner. Some gained positions. Others were forced backward. The middle of the pack became especially dangerous. Cars were surrounded by competitors on every side, and drivers had almost no margin for error. The leaders began building speed again, but the battle for the top position remained intense. One driver appeared to have the advantage on the short run. Another looked stronger on longer green flag runs. That created an interesting strategic battle. If another caution appeared the short-run driver could have the advantage. If the race stayed green, the driver with better long-run speed could potentially take control. The crew chiefs knew this. The drivers knew this. And the fans could feel the tension building. As the race progressed, tire wear became one of the biggest stories. Drivers began reporting that their cars were becoming more difficult to handle. Some cars were tight in the center of the corner. Others were loose off the corner. Some drivers could use the bottom lane effectively. Others found more speed higher around the track. That created multiple racing lines. And when multiple lines are available, passing opportunities increase. The field became more competitive. Drivers searched for clean air. They tried different approaches. Some waited patiently for the perfect opportunity. Others attacked immediately. That difference in driving style created some incredible battles. One driver might spend several laps following another car. Instead of forcing the issue, they studied the car ahead. They watched where it was strong. They watched where it was weak. Then they waited. Finally, the opportunity appeared. The challenger moved underneath. The two cars ran side by side. The defending driver tried to maintain momentum. The challenger stayed alongside. They raced through another corner, and another. The crowd erupted. That is what short-track racing is all about. Not just speed, but timing, patience, and confidence. As the laps continued to disappear, the championship implications also became more important. Every position matters. A single top 5 finish can provide valuable points. A bad result can create a major setback. Drivers aren't only racing the cars around them. They're racing for their season. They're racing for their teams. They're racing for their future. And that pressure becomes even greater when the race enters its final stage. The final pit cycle became another major strategic moment. Teams had to decide how aggressive they wanted to be. Fresh tires could provide a huge advantage, but staying on track could provide track position. There was no perfect answer. The wrong choice could be exposed within minutes. The right choice could create a winning opportunity. Then came another caution. Once again, the field was compressed. The leaders were no longer separated by a large gap. The restart would decide everything. Drivers climbed back into position. The pace car prepared to leave the track. The crowd became louder. Everyone knew what was coming. The green flag waved, and the final battle began. The leaders raced into the first corner together. The first driver protected the inside. The second driver searched for momentum. Behind them, another battle was developing. Cars were moving 3 wide. One driver squeezed through the middle. Another moved toward the outside. Contact was close, but everyone kept pushing. Lap after lap, the pressure increased. The leader couldn't make a mistake. The challenger couldn't afford to wait. The spotters continued communicating. The crew chiefs continued giving instructions. And the fans watched every corner. With the finish approaching, the difference between victory and defeat became microscopic. One car gained a few inches, then lost them. Another driver found momentum off the corner. The battle went down to the final laps. This is where NASCAR becomes pure emotion. Drivers know the risks. They know what is at stake. But they also know that opportunities like this don't come every week. So they push. They attack. They take chances. And sometimes those chances produce unforgettable moments. The final lap arrived. The cars entered the last corners. The leader held the preferred line. The challenger made one final attempt. The cars charged toward the checkered flag. And then it was over. The winner crossed the line. The battle was finished. The radios came alive. Some teams celebrated. Others were left wondering what could have been. For the winning team, every adjustment had finally paid off. For the drivers who finished behind, there were mixed emotions. Some were proud of their performance. Some were frustrated by missed opportunities, and some knew that they had been just one decision away from changing the entire result. That is the emotional side of NASCAR that fans don't always see. Behind every result is a story. A driver who fought through handling problems. A crew chief who made a crucial call. A pit crew that gained positions. A team that worked late into the night. And sometimes a driver who simply refused to give up. Iowa Speedway once again proved that NASCAR short track racing can deliver drama from the opening lap to the checkered flag. There were battles. There was contact. There were strategic gambles. There were moments of frustration. And there were moments of pure celebration. But perhaps the biggest takeaway is simple. At Iowa Speedway, nothing is guaranteed. A strong car can fall backward. A struggling car can come alive. A driver can lose several positions and fight all the way back. And a race that looks decided can change completely in a matter of seconds. That unpredictability is what makes NASCAR so addictive. You never know when the next caution will appear. You never know when the next big pass will happen. And you never know when a driver will make the move that changes everything. This was NASCAR Radioactive at Iowa Speedway, a race defined by speed, strategy, pressure, aggression, and drama. From the opening green flag to the final checkered flag, every lap told a story, and when the engines finally went silent, one thing was clear: Iowa Speedway had delivered another night of NASCAR action that fans won't forget. If you enjoyed this NASCAR Radioactive breakdown, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. More NASCAR races are coming. More battles are coming. More radio moments are coming. And more chaos is waiting around the next corner. Because in NASCAR, the race isn't over until the checkered flag falls.